Welcome. Welcome to the Assembly Summer 2016 Artec Seminars. Next we have two students from University of Jyväskylä talking about virtual reality game development. So, let's welcome to the stage Milla Pystynen and Erkka Nurmi.
Okay, so hello everybody.
Hi.
As he said, we are Erkka Nurmi and
Milla Pystynen.
So we both study at the University of Jyväskylä and also work in a student group called Vaara Games, where we make some virtual reality games. Right now we're working on a game called Rohto. I'm the producer of the team.
And I'm the game designer in our team.
Yeah. So here's a short sort of structure of the presentation. First we have a segment about VR development, some of the things we've learned during our learning experiences. Next up, some points about game development in the University of Jyväskylä. And finally, we sort of advertise ourselves with some Vaara Games, our story stuff. So.
Yeah, at first we want to make a list about cool things to do in VR, and we realized that the most exciting things are just looking around, exploring the environment, and having enough time to move around and time to watch objects, time to getting surprise, and sensing the environment from all around, hearing sound effects, voices from all around, and trying, of course, new points of view, being tall, small, flying, floating, and moving differently. Visiting virtual spaces more physically than in regular games. And we collected some special features about VR development. The first is, of course, the player's viewpoint, because the player is not observing the environment from the outside, but living it from within and playing as him or herself, more than playing as a character using an avatar. So it's also possible to strongly identify with the character's self. There are possibilities to understand the world through someone other's eyes, and that's really interesting. Yeah, about the user interface, we learned that designing the user interface, you should use visual and auditive instructions within the game world, and lots of learning from the environment, because subtitles and other pieces of text are very hard to handle. Pieces of text floating in the air break the immersion, and they are usually very difficult to read and difficult to place so that they are not like here too close. And choosing the controllers. In our game, we are using a basic Xbox controller, but there are multiple options, and choosing the right controller for each game depends on what's the purpose of the game and what kind of an experience it should be. Of course, you can use old school mouse and keyboard, and using gaze as a controller is a special feature of VR that is used a lot. Staying in a moving vehicle when you don't need to move at all but just gaze around is also used, and some movie-like scenes. Then the VR sickness thing, which is quite a challenge, and we've been learning a lot about it too. It's similar to motion sickness, so it's caused by the conflict between different senses, and it's mainly caused by the lack of a focal point, like watching a 3D movie without a clear focus point. And if you're moving into a direction and watching to another direction, it causes the sickness very quickly. Our solutions for that were clearing the focal point and clearing the composition of the environment, the visual environment. Small spaces help with it. They are easier to light, and noses, if there is something, nose or hand or some objects, for example, a bottle, which is a part of, feels to be a part of your body, it's easier to gaze like through it, and the VR sickness problem won't grow so easily. And you should prioritize your compositions in the visual environment so that the most important objects stand out clearly. And again, slowing down the movement and giving player time to look around and concentrate on objects is very important, because the player is not watching the whole environment on a screen, but moving through it. And do you have any questions so far? Voitte kysyä myös suomeksi, jos haluatte. Mitään? Jos ei ole, niin sitten then we can continue with the University of Jyväskylä. Maybe Erkka, would you like to tell about it?
Yeah, so we have 3 or 2 sort of main faculties that house the game development. So first of the Faculty of Information Technology that we are representing here. There we have a Games and Gamification Masters program for those interested, and also game development is used as a learning tool from very early on. So from programming 1, the first programming course on, on that course the students build their own game during the time. At Faculty of Humanities, there are, they house the most courses about the game development. They have this game studies and game design program, mainly for bachelor students, that contains game design and game history, game development challenges, things like this.
And game writing and some more philosophical approaches also.
Yeah.
Yep.
Also, one unique thing about University of Jyväskylä is the Faculty of Sports and Health Sciences. Their potential is so far somewhat untapped, but I think they could be very useful in dealing with augmented reality games and VR in general. Maybe that's something some of them could study at some point. Okay. Next up, the equipment and expertise at Jyväskylä University. So we have 2 pairs of Oculus Rift goggles. They are at their booth right now, playing some of our games. I've heard there may be some other VR stuff too, but that may be just a rumor. We also have plenty of workspaces, computer classes and team workspaces, such things. Some of them are for general use and some are for special projects. Also, a lot of software and hardware. Computers at the university are mostly okay. Some of them are really good, but those are for some special purposes. And software, well, for game development, there's at least the Unity license and also whatever free stuff one can find, Blenders and Audacities, things like this. And of course, university is a studying environment, so we have professional help with our tools, programming, teamwork skills, and project management. So this includes many courses from 3D modeling to, well, of course, in the Faculty of Information Technology, many programming courses of all types. Also, one thing about the university that is great is the cooperation between fields of study. So a person who comes from an IT background and a person who studies music, for example, may have a very different view on what games are and how they are made. And one of the key points about the university is the sharing of information. So that's what we try to do together inside the university and also to the public. And of course, we are studying right now, and some of us will be the experts of the future, those who teach the kids of 2040s their futuristic super tech VR equipment. Okay, so for specific courses, the game project course, this is where our group started, and it's a very great course where students from different fields team up to make a game. Each of these students gets a specific role in that group. For example, producer, game designer. We have also sound designers and graphical designers, all sorts of stuff, programmers, of course. So this course is a great chance to learn. For that specific purpose, the specific development task that one is doing, but also some of the tools of the trade. Well, it is said that teaching tools isn't all that necessary, but once you learn how to model in Blender, for example, you know what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and that translates to other programs that are used for the same purpose. And also, it is a chance to learn other viewpoints to the game development. Like I had that example about an IT student and a music student. They have a complete other viewpoint to game development, and to share that and sort of within one's own view of the subject, it's great. And also, of course, teamwork. We are working as a team to create a game, and in a project like this, it's quite a bit different than doing some exercise in class with 4 other people or something. In addition to being the chance to learn, the course is also a chance to create. We get to create assets. For example, if we make a first-person shooter, we want to create some great-looking gun model and maybe share that, use that, be proud of what we have done. We have the chance to create tools, especially for a producer-type person like I, something like work our tracking program or something like this. So that's fun. It offers some great content for one's CV too. So you can go to your future boss and say, hey, check this out. I made a game and all these assets are mine, and it's great. And of course, you have a full game after the course, or at least a very nice prototype that you can share with people. Yeah, and about these finished games and prototypes, these are the ones that were made during this year's spring. There was Team Alpha's Metsän Peitto, which is a VR horror game set in a dark forest where you try to find some lights that appear in the distance. Actually, all these games are VR. We were the first group who had the chance to develop with the Oculus Rift, so we all jumped at the opportunity. The next one is Plan B with Mummy, which is sort of a small child in a supermarket simulator. So you try to find your mother among the people in the supermarket. And finally, there's our own team. We used to go by the name Curio Games, but had to change it for copyright reasons. Also, our game's name has changed. It used to be called Saiva, and now it's called Rohto. And it's an experience-based VR game that is based on Sami mythology. We are currently working with an expert to ensure we can provide the most authentic and respectful depiction of the source material. Also, these games and many others are available to try out at our booth after the presentation. Okay, so after we did the game project course, we moved to Jyväskylä Game Lab. It's part of a EU project in Jyväskylä area that is supposed to create sort of a game development environment and maybe some companies that can create games and bring some revenue to the city. It's an additional chance for game development inside and with the University of Jyväskylä and University of Jyväskylä of Applied Sciences. It's meant for people who are unemployed or studying at the moment. They team up and start working on a project. It can be a project they have already started before, like us, or one that they start in the game lab. This offers a more sort of professional style of game development. We could have, especially during the summer, we could have full days of 5 to 10 hours each, and sort of really get into the everyday life sort of game developer. At the Game Lab, we can receive great help from the lab masters, who are currently these two dudes who really know their stuff, and also if they don't know something, they can invite some outside experts who can teach us what they know in some specific issues. They offer workspaces for all the teams and tools for development, like computers. They are mostly okay. Sadly, the Game Lab may be about to end, so they are running out of funding and they may have to stop in October, but we really hope they get continuation to the funding and can keep going, because this was really great. Okay, then about our team.
Okay, then about our team, Vara Game Studio. So as Erkka already told us, we started as a team on the game project course and are continuing our development at the moment in the Jyväskylä Game Lab and focus on VR design. So far we have used Unity and we have 7.5 members, a producer, marketing manager, a game designer, lead artist, who is also a sound designer, a 3D designer, and 2.5 programmers. And Rohto is our first game. We've been developing it now for seven months. Yeah, 7 months. And what is special in our game is the beauty of the pure northern nature. Wide open space and sky, wild animals, we got reindeers, we got a fox. And fresh water, air, bright colors. There you can see the northern lights in our night sky. And the story is based on the Sami mythology. The player is playing as a shaman, and as Erkka said, we are cooperating about the correct cultural knowledge, of course. The player is collecting herbs and traveling between the different levels of the world and learning shape-shifting. So it will be possible to play as another animal species, which is very interesting to design. And do you have any questions about our game or our university or VR design in general? Suomeksi tai englanniksi?
Ei tuu heti.
Siellä.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So, what's specific about designing for VR, or like, what's specific when you design or develop VR games? What's specific about it from design-wise?
Yeah. So, well, I think you know more about this. But
Yeah, I think the most important thing is realizing what it means to be inside the game environment. So you can't control the whole piece of game environment like in regular games, but you need to stand inside of it, and that's why the happening in the environment must be slower, and there must be time to do things and watch things more closely.
I think one of the other important things is controls. So the regular way to move the character, where you can turn using the mouse or a D-pad on a controller, that turns you around, but also as the VR headset adds another dimension to the head movement of your head. When you do those things at the same time, it can be quite disorienting. But it's also an opportunity because there is that added sort of dimension of movement, the movement of the head that can be followed. And that offers some great opportunities for different kinds of games.
And I think that in VR the emotional experience is much stronger, and there are many ways to use it in design, and it's an interesting research topic.
Yeah.
Hello. Hello. Yes, I actually have another question, if you don't mind.
Yep. No.
About hardware and software. So you said that you are basically developing for or using Oculus.
Yeah.
And you mentioned some like tools like Blender and whatnot. So why did you choose those, both hardware and software?
Well, hardware, Oculus, because that was available at the university, and also there was native support on Unity for it.
But one of the teams on the course was using Unreal Engine.
Oh yeah, their game also looks great. So let me think now. What was the question about?
Why did we choose this hardware and software?
Blender is free, so that's great. And well, mostly because those tools were free or they were taught to us at the university.
Yeah, so they were easy to get.
Why we chose Unity over Unreal Engine is because we thought Unity might be easier to develop for. We are not so sure anymore, but I think we did pretty well. Any other questions? Okay.
Yes, hello. I just have to comment, if not question anything, because I'm sort of responsible for some of this game teaching in Jyväskylä. I just want to make the point clear to the audience here that this is a living example standing in front of you of the really great opportunities that we have in central Finland, in Jyväskylä. There's not only the IT guys doing games for IT nerds, We have a human sciences student and then an IT student, and then those music students and the graphic culture students working together, learning their stuff for their future, and there's great opportunities to build something new like this Vaara Games is doing at the moment.
Yeah.
So I just had to say this because we paid a lot of money for this sponsor slot.
Yeah, it's also great for meeting those people. So meeting people from different fields.
Any other questions? Any other questions? Yep.
Yes, so you have the IT department where you get the programmers, and then you have the game design department where you get designers. But do you also have in Jyväskylä a serious graphics production oriented department?
Actually,
Not really.
yeah,
We have some 3D modeling courses, but not any school concentrated in graphic
actually,
design.
I think we only have one course in 3D modeling, which is not enough. So we've one of the problems we had during our development was trying to get some more coaching or teaching for our graphics team. So they went through that one course, and after that it was just watching YouTube videos and trying to learn on their own. So that's one thing I would wish the university might provide more of, but
Yeah.
So have you considered recruiting graphics production people from other institutions?
that would be if we went professional, then absolutely. Now we've mainly focused on learning and improving ourselves and our team. So so far that hasn't been how do you say? It hasn't been necessary, but I think if we went professional, I think we might have to find some additional graphical talent.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No questions?
Okay.
There is one.
Yeah.
I have a question more on VR in general. What have you found to be the biggest challenges when it comes to developing in VR for an appealing game?
I'd say controls. So
VR sickness.
yeah, that too. They are sort of related because the traditional way to control the player character works for some people, but it doesn't work for other people. So it really can cause some illness. We have considered some alternative ways to do the movement. For example, losing the other D-pad that does the turning, and instead turning the character slowly where their head is pointing. That was used by another team on the game project course, but they found that made people even sicker. So that's definitely one of the big challenges, the controls and VR sickness. And I think it may be one of the big challenges for VR development in general all over the world. So it may require that we make some new types of games, but I would really like to play some FPS in first VR.
Semmoinen kysymys, että puhuitte, että a question. You said that after the initial courses in 3D, people just look at YouTube videos. But how do you know that if you organize courses to teach these things, that the education would be better than watching YouTube videos? I mean, there are like really good lecture series there. And why is it that university is still seen as this place where there are books, like from the 17th century before internet, and instead of just like, it's like every local theater had a Batman show instead of going to see the movie, and it sort of feels like a little obsolete. That why is this not being modernized now that you have chance to do it?
Yeah, to answer the first question first, so one of the great things in sort of student to teacher teaching is the interactivity. So if the student doesn't catch something, or they don't quite understand, they have missed something, they can ask the teacher. That's one of the big things.
Yeah, and we have learned through failing.
Yeah.
And testing and testing and testing more.
So we have noticed that when we have some person who comes to see what we are doing and says, "You are an idiot, do it like this," that's quite a bit easier than finding the answer on your own. Of course, it is very valuable, the YouTubes and all this new media for learning about, well, anything, but it lacks that sort of interaction between the teacher and the student.
I want to comment on this. Wise words from our students. Wonderful, yes. To answer your question, there is a transition going on towards using all these YouTube videos, and you have these MOOCs, these learning environments with online material. But really, there is nothing like meeting in person the student. And vice versa, the student meeting the teacher, and then you can really evaluate if there is a gap in the knowledge. The student sometimes doesn't even know that there is a gap in the knowledge when just looking at videos. And there's a thought that you understand things, and then in the end there is a gap and there's no actual enough learning going on. So there's nothing like real interaction in the end. But of course, there's a transition, and the videos are very, very helpful. I've learned a lot myself using those.
Yeah. Also, many of at least the IT faculties lectures are videoed, and I do admit that myself I rarely go to lectures anymore. I just watch the videos at home. But yeah. Anyone else?
Any other questions? If there is no questions, remember to visit the booth of University of Jyväskylä nearby and test the games. Thank you, Erkka. Thank you, Milla.
Yeah, thank you.
Kiitos.